something, and Fiona looks after everything behind the scenes. So that's it, really. Jen, MasterChef. Who watched MasterChef then? It's the amateur one. It's not the professionals. There you are, Jen. Yeah, because it was this year, wasn't it?
Yes, March it started.
Yeah.
And I was on April the 7th, I think was my first episode. So it feels like a very long time ago now.
Gosh. And it was filmed, when would it be filmed then? It was filmed...
This time last year, so we were actually filming a year ago right now.
Yeah. Well,
this was Knockout Week, I think we were filming now.
We'll find out a little bit more as we get going, but what are you going to do for us?
I'm making something festive. I'm doing gingerbread cupcakes with a lemon icing. Lots and lots of ginger in this. I'm using 3 different kinds of ginger, and then we've got treacle, golden syrup, and all the other things you'd expect in gingerbread. My mum's been kindly trying them out for me as I've been practicing. So hopefully they'll come out lovely.
Yeah, so if they're not, just blame your mother.
I will definitely blame my mum, and she's here, so we can all blame her together.
Wonderful. So think anything like this we can do at home, because that's the beauty of it. And the fact that you took a brave step to go on MasterChef, we'll learn all about it as we get going. So what are you going to do first?
So nice and simple, this one. I don't use a lot of equipment for this, so it's more or less going to be done in 2 bowls and then just a baking tray for the cakes. So what I've got, I'm going to be using an electric whisk for most of it. The first thing I need to do is cream together butter, and this is dark muscovado sugar, which is a really lovely sugar to use for things like this, because it's got a really rich, treacly taste. So I've weighed everything out so that you don't have to sit and weigh things, which isn't particularly exciting. So I have weighed everything out already.
So is this your own recipe then?
I've been making gingerbread for a really long time. It's one of my favourite things to eat. But I was trying to make it into a cupcake, so I've chopped and changed quite a few things. It needs to hold its shape as a cake, whereas I tend to make big slabs of gingerbread that you can cut up. But I needed to make something that could hold icing, so it is my own recipe. My first ever gingerbread I made was Nigella's, from Nigella Christmas. But this is quite different from that.
Right.
So just creaming the butter and sugar together. And then once that's done, I've got a few different bits that I'm going to put in. It's quite a simple recipe. It's eggs, treacle, golden syrup, a spice mix. It's got stem ginger and fresh ginger in, and some milk. There's not too much going in it. And using an electric whisk takes a lot of the hard work out. If I was doing this by hand with a wooden spoon, it would take a very long time.
So do you remember the time you thought it'd be a really good idea to apply for a national television programme for MasterChef?
It seems like a really strange decision now, but at the time, I really enjoyed watching the programme. I'd love to be able to meet all these famous chefs, get to do all the challenges, all the different experiences. So it didn't seem like an odd at the time. It just felt like, yeah, I fancy doing that. Yeah. So when the show's on, as you get towards the end, they open up the applications and you fill the form in and then wait to hear back. And when I did hear back, I was really shocked, but it was so exciting. So this is sort of starting to come together now, which means I can start adding my other ingredients in. I more or less am going to do everything using the electric whisk because it does make life a lot easier. So I'm just going to add in the treacle, golden syrup, and also 1 egg and 1 egg yolk as well.
So did you used to do, because I mentioned in the introduction, you didn't really start cooking until you got married.
I could cook a few things that I'd learned from my dad, my grandmother as well, to an extent, but I didn't really cook that much. And then when I met my husband, he's quite an adventurous eater, so suddenly I had someone who liked eating, and I like cooking, so that was when I really started to go for it and started to do lots of different things, and that was when it really took off. So that was 6 years ago. And then I just found I really enjoyed it. And it's nice as well, because he likes to watch TV, and I can't sit and watch TV. I have to be doing something, so I can cook and watch TV at the same time, whereas he can just sit and watch TV. I like to potter, and it was kind of a really happy medium there.
Yeah.
this is just 2 tablespoons of each of golden syrup and treacle.
I also mentioned in the introduction about the fish. They'd never.
It's not a fish, it's a dumpling.
Oh.
It's momos. So my little brother's there, if anyone wants to stare at him and make him uncomfortable.
Oh.
He's the one that went to Nepal and told me about them. And he went trekking in Nepal. He did a few bits over there. I think he helped paint a school, and he went trekking, so he actually went up into the mountains as well. And he came back and he was saying about the food that they had. And it's a lot of potato curry and Spam. He still eats Spam now. He still likes it. So they had that, but then they had momos as well. Mm-hmm. And Oreo milkshakes. That was the other thing he said he had loads of while he was there, which I thought was odd, but that was a big thing there. So the thing he came back and he said was really good and I should definitely try was momos. So I made them, and I thought, this is really good. And then I actually went to a Nepalese restaurant in Bath and had them there, and they were so good. And then I've had them a few times, but I make them quite often now. But I love dumplings, like all dumplings, really. So I make gyoza, I make pierogi. I just do sort of eating my way around the world in dumplings.
And who was it that particularly liked your dumplings, as it were?
Well, my husband's a big fan. He likes anything stodgy. So I am talking about edible dumplings, of course, here.
But on MasterChef.
Oh, on MasterChef. Oh, yeah, that was Marcus Waring I did the momos for.
Yeah.
Because it was an invention test, and they had these absolutely amazing ingredients up there. We didn't know that Marcus Waring was going to be there. That was a surprise, and a good surprise. Mm-hmm. But we didn't know that he was going to be there, so I went up and looked at all the different ingredients that were there, and they had some really lovely ones. But a lot of it was, I think they had like oysters and shrimps, which I'm allergic to shellfish, so I couldn't eat any of that. So straight away I was like, well, I'm not going to that table. And then they had all the game birds, which I do like cooking, but I thought everybody's going to do that. Mm-hmm. And then I saw at the back they had all lemongrass and a few other bits and pieces, Thai basil, some really lovely flavours like that. And I thought, I'm going to do something vegetarian because I don't think anybody else will do that. I didn't realise at the time that somebody else would do a vegetarian dish, but it was fine because he liked mine. So that was really good. But I just saw the ingredients and I thought, well, quite fancy making that, and it paid off. So I was really pleased because that could have ended up not being such a good one. But in actual fact, he really liked it. He said 10 out of 10 for bravery. And he said it was something that seemed like it would be done as a signature dish rather than an invention test. And they all liked the flavours of it as well. So I was absolutely delighted that went down so well.
Marcus Waring, I imagine he's quite tall.
Do you know, I didn't even think about that when I met him.
Oh. Well, was he looking at you directly, or was he a bit lower or a bit higher?
I think he's a little bit taller than I am. Yeah.
And I bet he smells lovely as well.
Do you know,
just think Marcus Waring, it will smell lovely.
We had quite a big bench between us, like wider than this.
There was no waft?
No. Well, it just smells like food in that kitchen.
Does it?
Yeah, so obviously people are just cooking in there constantly. I'm going to separate this egg out because I only want the yolk for this one. If you put 2 eggs in, it's going to be too wet a batter. So I'm just using the egg yolk for this.
Are you very shy at separating things?
No, I just don't want to make a mess is all. My kitchen at home is really small, so it is how little mess can I make. And I don't have a dishwasher or anything, so any mess I make I have to clean up. So I'm a very keen trying not to make a mess person when I cook. So in this bowl is just treacle, golden syrup, 1 egg and 1 egg yolk. And we're just mixing that in together. And then there's just a couple more things to go in here, and then once that's all in, they'll go in the oven, and then we'll start icing and decorating. So going in here now is just going to be, I've got some fresh ginger, and I've got some stem ginger as well, so we're going to put those in. And then I've also got flour, which I've sifted with allspice. It's got some nutmeg in there. It's got ground ginger, ground cinnamon, and a little tiny pinch of ground cloves as well. And there's just 1 teaspoon of baking powder in, and that's just 150 grams of flour. And then I'm going to put some milk in as well.
So I mean, I'm never sure, because some BBC programmes you are able to talk about things, but then there are others that aren't. Are you able to tell us whereabouts it is, or is that all secret?
It was London, I can say that much.
Okay.
I don't think they'd appreciate me being too specific on it. But it was primarily filmed in London, and we did have a couple of on-location things as well. So,
Because where did you? Because when semi-final, so you did go out and about, didn't you? So where was it you went?
we went to Plymouth, and we filmed on the deck of a ship in a gale when it was raining and it was freezing, and I was trying to measure icing sugar out, and it was just going overboard because it was so windy. And the ovens were on a lean as well, which I didn't realise, because I wouldn't have attempted to make lemon tart if it had known. But it was good fun. It feels very surreal talking about it now, because I feel like, did I actually make 7 lemon tarts on the deck of a warship? But yes, I did. It does seem like a really surreal thing to say that now, but at the time I was just like, yeah, let's go do that. What a good idea. So I'm just putting a little bit of stem ginger in, and there's some fresh ginger that I've just grated in as well. The purpose of using 3 different kinds of ginger is the stem ginger will hold its shape, and it's like you get these little nuggets of ginger, and I think of it as having a chocolate chip in a chocolate muffin, but you just get these little ginger pearls, and they're just absolutely lovely. The fresh ginger adds a bit of heat, and then the ground ginger is just a spice mix, so that's nice. I'm using cup measures to measure my milk. I absolutely love these. It just makes it a bit easier when you're trying to measure things out. The flour and the milk I'm going to put in a bit at a time. I'm not going to put it all in at once. And then just a tiny bit of salt as well. And then this is ready.
So how much prep did you have to do before you went on the programme?
It's a challenging one, because I was still working full-time and I couldn't tell anyone what I was doing. So I was basically cooking till about 2 a.m. every day once I found out what was going on. And it's just, I did do a lot of prep, but you can't ever really fully prepare because you don't know what challenges are going to be, and you don't find that out until really soon. So sometimes you'd have, like, in a couple of days you need to have this dish prepared, and then you'd have to try and work out a recipe so that you can send your ingredient list in. So that was quite challenging. But
now, is that a week by week, or did you have to submit the whole series?
It's sort of week by week. It's kind of like that. But trying to work full time and do that was interesting. My husband had to just eat so much food while I was practicing.
Oh, what a shame.
I didn't tell very many people about it, so he was one of the few people that knew. So he had to eat everything. And I did apple tart for my first dish. And by the end of practicing that, he just said, I just cannot eat any more apple tarts. He'd eaten, I think, 11 by the time I got in. And he was good. He was brilliant. You know, he was really supportive. And I think he did enjoy some of the things he got to try, but I don't think he has eaten an apple tart since.
Yeah. Sadly, Jen's husband couldn't be with us. He's stuck in the bedroom, can't get through the door. So you've kept the pinny?
Yes. Yes, I class it as my leaving present, because one of the producers gave it to me to stop me crying when I went out.
Oh, no.
Nice present, though. I've been trying really hard to keep it clean, but it's white, so it's not that simple. So I'm just going to put a tiny bit of salt in, and then I'm going to do the task that requires a bit of dexterity, and that's trying to put it in the cases without spilling it everywhere, which is not the job that I'm best at.
You must have learnt so many tricks and tips on the programme. You must have done.
You learn loads from it. Like John and Greg, you learn things from them straight away. But you learn a lot from the other contestants as well. I learned so much from the other guys, because everybody's got different strengths. Everybody's got things that they're good at, things that they're not good at. And just talking to each other, you do learn so much. And even now, we still keep in touch. So people will be trying things out and they'll be telling each other about it. So I'm still continuing to learn from the others, which is amazing. But it's really nice that we've been able to keep in touch. But, you know, the whole experience is a big learn. Certainly getting to meet some of these famous chefs was a big learn. And the sort of the feedback and the criticism that you get, that's quite helpful as well, because then you know these are people that have got a lot of industry experience. So some of the things that they can tell you are things you never would have thought about yourself, and it's not things you would get from a book either. I'm just putting these in the cases and trying to get as much as possible in the cases and not down the sides.
How much chit-chat do John and Greg do when you're doing it? And don't he annoy you, Greg?
No, Greg was lovely. He was...
He'd do my head in him, wouldn't he?
He's so nice. And I tell you, if you're quite nervous, then having him walking around cracking jokes is just, it's good. It just makes you feel a bit more at ease, because he's a genuinely nice guy, and like he sings to you as well, which was quite nice.
What, just you?
No, definitely Annie got Smooth Criminal by Michael Jackson a lot. Annie, are you okay? So she got that quite a lot. But I told him I liked Elton John, and so I got quite a lot of Elton John sung to me. But John didn't speak to us as much, but a little bit. But Greg certainly, he'd have a chat with you, and because he comes round and asks you about what sort of dish you're doing, and then he'll crack a few jokes. And honestly, he was like a really lovely part of it, because he was so friendly. And my dad's like one of those guys that likes to crack jokes as well, so makes you feel a bit more at ease.
I bet he'd hate to hear you think you're comparing him to like your dad. He would hate that, wouldn't he?
Well, he's not met my dad. My dad could be awesome for all he knows.
No, I was thinking more of yes. Anyway, there we are. Right. So, MasterChef, has it inspired you? Are you going to be doing? Because obviously you're doing demonstrations.
Yeah.
But are you going to be doing a bit more cooking? Is that the aim?
I've been doing so much recently. Honestly, it's the amount of things I've been doing. It's like a second full-time job.
Oh, wonderful.
These are going in the oven 190 for 18 minutes. And I have brought a timer with me. So I'll just leave that there, and then I'll keep checking that. I've been teaching classes. So the most recent one I've been doing is healthy eating for weight loss. Oh. So I've been working with a...
You didn't do this dish, did you?
I did not do this dish, no. Completely different dishes. But that one was quite good, because that was... Because I've been cooking nothing but desserts recently off the back of MasterChef, because that's what everybody wants. Doing the healthy eating one gave me the chance to do something a bit different and a bit healthier, which has been good for myself and my husband and our waistlines. So we've been able to do... It's been the one that I did a Japanese menu, and I did a Middle Eastern menu as well. And it was just trying to get as much flavour in as possible without... and my default is to use butter and cream. And it's take them completely off the table and just try and cook with herbs and spices, get flavour in without adding fat and calories. So that was quite a bit of a challenge, but I've been working with a boot camp and with a nutritionist as well to try and get really, really healthy food. But I've just been, my thing that I've been concentrating on is the flavour, and that's the bit that I've enjoyed doing. I can't ice hot cupcakes, so I have brought some with me that I made this morning, as otherwise the icing would just melt and they wouldn't look very nice. So I'm going to make the icing now. And that is just going to be a couple of ingredients. So we've got milk, we've got icing sugar, we've got butter. Butter is at room temperature. And then I'm adding lemon zest and vanilla to it as well. And the lemon with gingerbread is absolutely lovely. It's a really, really nice combination.
Will there be anywhere people can access this recipe then, Jen?
I haven't put it anywhere yet, but it's depending on what happens with the paper, I could be one of the ones that I do for them. But unfortunately, 1MK is closed.
Oh.
So that's that paper's actually closed down now. So I'm not doing that, but they are looking at doing another sort of magazine. So I'm talking to them about that now. So see what happens there, and potentially that could be one. But I haven't published this one yet, so this one's sort of, because it's been a bit of an experimental recipe trying to get a cupcake shape. It's been a lot of throwing things in a bowl in my kitchen and hoping it for the best, really. So icing sugar, the butter needs to be at room temperature for this. And just a trick for when you're doing this, one of the worst things about making icing is ending up with your kitchen covered in icing sugar. So if you just put a tea towel over the top, you can just stop that happening. Because when you do this initial bit, what will happen is the icing sugar will all go up in a cloud, and then you'll get moaned at by your partner because you have covered everything in the house in icing sugar, including yourself. If you put a tea towel over the top, you can limit the damage a little bit.
So you still keep in touch with the contestants? Because it was Jane that won, wasn't it? Jane, was it Devonshire?
Yeah, she won, and she's doing really, really well. But certainly the final 8, we still talk to each other quite frequently. Yeah. But then a lot of the people from Knockout Week as well I'm still in touch with. But everybody's doing their own projects now, and it's really exciting to see what the others are getting up to. Yeah. Liz she's actually got a residency in a restaurant, and her food just looks amazing. She's always sending me pictures of it, and it just looks so good. And she's definitely enjoying that, and it is nice to see everybody doing well. Mm. You can sort of see the icing sugar popping out the side there, so you can see what I mean about it making a mess.
So if you could cook for anyone, who would it be?
Nigella Lawson.
Oh.
She, when I first started learning to cook, I had How to Be a Domestic Goddess and Nigella Express, and they were my first sort of 2 serious cookbooks that I started cooking from properly. And she just made cooking quite accessible. So things that I thought were going to be really complicated, using her recipes, it sort of gave me my basis. And then I've started doing more complicated things off the back of it, but it definitely put me in the right direction. But I've been watching her on MasterChef Australia, which has been amazing. It's the first season of it I've ever watched, and it's just so good. I just watch MasterChef constantly, really. UK, we've got a few seasons. I've watched MasterChef Junior, USA and Australia, so I just watch them all really now.
You're watching the professionals at the moment?
I haven't watched any of them so far, but I've got them all recorded, so I will get to them as soon as I can. It's just, I've been busy making bread all week, so I haven't watched them yet. So just broken down the butter, trying to get it all involved in the sugar. A little bit of milk here. No, you don't want to put too much liquid in here. So about 25 mils. And then I am going to put in as well a tiny drop of vanilla essence. And I'm also going to zest in a lemon as well. To zest my lemon, I've got a microplane, which is one of my favourite things I've ever bought, and it just makes zesting things so much easier.
Very good for hard skin on your feet as well, Jen.
Oh, I've not used it for that. I've only used it in the kitchen, but I might have to buy a second one then. I just find zest lemons a lot, oranges, limes, and you just get a lot more off with this, and it blends in a lot better. So when you're making icing, you don't really want to be pulling bits of lemon zest out your teeth. And using the microplane, it just comes out really nicely. So, as I said, there's not very many ingredients in this. It will just make nice icing. And the lemon really, really does go well with gingerbread.
Oh, you smell that.
You can smell the lemon, can't you? Yeah. With this, it's best to add a little. You need it to be fairly firm so that you can pipe it.
You could put a little suggestion of something festive-y, bit of alcohol in there.
I do actually have ginger liqueur at home, which is a really nice addition. But one of the people that's been testing for me doesn't drink, so I deliberately left it out because otherwise I would have got the bottle of ginger liqueur out and stuck that in as well. Just put as many different kinds of ginger as I can in. But absolutely, if you wanted to put a bit of alcohol in, you could put a bit of rum in the icing. So that's all coming together quite nicely. They need another 10.5 minutes, but cold ones here ready to pie. So, I'm not particularly dexterous, so I had to work on my presentation an awful lot to do MasterChef, and I do tend to use piping bags for cupcakes because I'm trying to do them freehand. I just end up with more icing on my counter than on my cakes, so this is definitely a better way of doing it for me.
Tell you're concentrating, you've gone quiet.
It's all right, I'll talk to you. I fitted this bag already with a nozzle, and it just gives you, this is a star nozzle that I'm using, and it just gives you the nice sort of serrated edge around the cupcake.
So would you do another programme? Have you got the bug now?
I think if I had the opportunity to go and do MasterChef again, I would do it in a heartbeat, because I've learned so much since doing the programme and since, that getting the opportunity to go and do it again with everything I've learned, it would just be really interesting to see how far I could go. As I said, I've learned so much from the other contestants, and I've learned so much from the people that were involved in the programme. It would just be a really amazing thing for me to be able to go and do it again. But other TV, I'm not so sure. My manager keeps asking me when I'm going to go on, like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, or Celebrity Big Brother, or anything like that. And it's not really my forte.
Now, when we say manager, we don't mean an agent manager, do we?
No, I'm talking about my day job. But certainly at work, we do quite a lot of charity bake sales, and they've been enjoying having the sort of MasterChef label that they can use when we do our bake sales, because we've done a few of them this year. And it's always, I always sort of get told, do you want to bake? Which I don't mind. It's nice to be appreciated. So because these have had time to cool, because I made them this morning, the icing isn't melting, which is excellent. And it means that I can decorate them. If you've got small children, this is a really nice time to get them involved, because I've got a 6-year-old niece, and she loves decorating cakes. So if I do the sort of complicated bit with the oven, then she can just take over and just put the sprinkles and the decorations on. I've got a few different things I'm going to use for decorations. I like to use edible glitter, and I've got loads of this because my mum bought me absolutely every colour possible. So that's quite nice. And then just little decorations as well. And then somewhere here, sprinkles. So edible glitters just makes them look really pretty. You can actually blend edible glitter into the icing while you're making it, or you can sprinkle it over the top. I had to make a frozen cake, Frozen the Disney film. I put quite a lot of edible glitter into the fondant, and it just looked really nice because it was sort of sparkly icing. You do have to be careful with this because it does go everywhere. So, edible glitter is a really nice little decoration. But you will find you'll go to work having used this, and you will have just glitter on every item of clothing, and it's all over your face and hair. Yeah. So it does go everywhere, but it does look pretty. I'm going to put the lid back on that so I don't spill it all over your tabletop. And then I've got sprinkles as well. But all of this is just things that you can just buy in supermarkets. And it's just to make them a little bit more festive. But if you have people that don't really like Christmas pudding, gingerbread's a nice alternative, because I know a lot of people sort of really don't like dried fruit. And this is just, it's no dried fruit in it really. You've got the stemmed ginger, but there's no actual currants or anything like that in there. It just gives you that alternative. I've made my Christmas pudding already, so, and I've done a really big one this year, because apparently we're going to have potentially 13 for Christmas. In the pudding my dad's cooking. So I've got these, I might be too covered in edible glitter to open this, but I've got these little decorations as well. So these are just Christmas puddings and holly. But just to make sure people definitely know that these are Christmassy, I have got these.
They're sweet, aren't they?
They are, yeah, I really like these. I think they're really nice. But if you are letting kids decorate, it's, and I probably have the dexterity of a child, so it is nice to let them do bits like this. But my niece loves doing stuff like this. Just roll out some fondant and give her the cookie cutters, and she goes mad. She loves it. Yeah. I probably wouldn't let her handle the edible glitter, though.
Fabulous. Look at those.
But that's gingerbread and lemon cupcakes. And yeah, just a nice, I love gingerbread. It's probably one of my favourite things to eat in the winter. And this is sort of extreme gingerbread, because it's got as much ginger as I could pack in.
Fabulous. Ladies and gentlemen, Jen Charlton. Thanks ever so much, Jen. So we'll keep an eye on those.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. Now then, what do you want to do with those? Are you?
I've probably eaten enough of these for me to save a lifetime, so...
Should we cut some up and let folk have some?
Yeah, if any of you do want to try it, you're more than welcome to.
Well, what we'll do, because they've been cooked off-site, you see, so Fiona will take them away, we'll cut as best we can into a plate, and then we'll come out. Jen's not going anywhere, we'll put her to the front, knock a sound off, and then... That's our dinner, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, so what we'll do that, and then you can have a little sample. Thank you ever so much, Jen.
No, my pleasure. It's lovely to come back.
And all the best for Christmas. I can't believe I'm saying that, but that's great. Thanks, Jen. The gentleman just walked past was Howard Middleton from the Great British Bake Off, who is on next at 3. So half an hour's time. But thanks again, Jen. We'll cut these up. We'll see you in a bit. And yet Howard is on at 3. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, Jen Charlton. Thank you.